Please subscribe my channel. James woke up the next morning with a dull ache in his chest. The silence of the apartment both a comfort and a reminder of what he had lost. The bed beside him was empty, untouched, and he realized how much space someone could occupy in your life, physically, emotionally, and in your very thoughts, and how quickly it could vanish. He dressed slowly, mechanically, preparing for a day that felt both ordinary and entirely new. Every movement, from brushing his teeth to pouring coffee, seemed heavier now, weighted with the knowledge that nothing would ever be the same. The news of Melissa's betrayal replayed in his mind, each detail sharper than the last. The confession. The audacity of expecting him to raise a child that wasn't his. The calm, almost casual way she had tried to justify it. And yet, amidst the pain, a strange clarity had begun to emerge. He realized that anger, grief, and betrayal could coexist with a sense of purpose, a determination to reclaim the life he deserved. He refused to let deceit define him. By mid-morning, James had made a list. Not a list for revenge, not a list for confrontation, but a list of what needed to happen next. Lawyer consultations, financial settlements, changing accounts, and reclaiming personal space. Every detail mattered. He wasn't moving blindly, he was taking control. Each step gave him a fraction more strength, a fraction more control over a life that had been hijacked by lies. As he went through his apartment, packing small personal items, memories tugged at him. The framed photo of their wedding, a ticket stub from a vacation he had planned months before the betrayal, a small ceramic figurine Melissa had gifted him. Each item was a relic of trust now tainted, yet he touched them briefly, acknowledged them, and set them aside to be dealt with later. This wasn't about erasing the past, it was about reclaiming his present. He decided to visit his favorite cafe, a place where he often sat and thought without interruption. The streets were starting to fill, but the morning calm still offered him a strange solace. He ordered a coffee and sat by the window, letting the world move around him while he stayed still, anchored in thought. He reviewed the emails from his lawyer, reread the divorce documents, and mentally rehearsed what he would say if Melissa tried to contact him again. He wasn't angry anymore in the explosive, uncontrollable sense. He was methodical. He was a man who had been tested and refused to be broken. By the afternoon, the first calls from Melissa came. They were frantic, pleading, manipulative, trying to invoke guilt, reminding him of shared memories, whispering apologies that sounded hollow now. He ignored them all. Each unanswered call, each unopened message strengthened him. He realized that responding would be participating in her narrative, allowing her to control his emotions. That control was gone, and he intended to keep it that way. Days passed, and James focused on work and himself. He started running again, pushing his body through the same streets he and Melissa had walked together, each stride a small reclaiming of independence. He began reading books he had left aside, taking up hobbies he had postponed, and reconnecting with friends he had neglected. Life felt different, disjointed, but it was real. No illusions, no pretenses, no secrets, but also no warmth, no easy comfort. The absence of Melissa was palpable, a shadow that followed him, yet it no longer crushed him. It reminded him that freedom, though painful, was worth the cost. Then came the unexpected moment. Melissa appeared at his workplace, unannounced, her face pale and drawn, her eyes desperate. She approached him slowly as though treading a path of invisible glass, careful with every step. "James, please," she began, her voice trembling. I need to talk to you. I can explain everything." He looked up at her, calm and detached. He had rehearsed this moment thousands of times in his head. The sight of her didn't ignite anger, it sparked resolve. "There's nothing to explain," he said evenly. "Your actions speak for themselves." She faltered, blinking back tears, her hand lifting as if to touch his arm. He didn't flinch. He didn't allow it. The space between them was not just physical. It was a boundary he had drawn to protect himself, to reclaim his emotional sovereignty. Melissa's next words were desperate, almost frantic. "I made a mistake, James. I was lonely, I don't know, He held up a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "You made a choice, Melissa. A choice that doesn't include me. You cannot rewrite that with words." Her lips trembled, and he could see the mixture of guilt and disbelief in her eyes. She couldn't understand that he had moved past shock, past anger, and into the realm of certainty. Certainty that the marriage they had built, the trust he had invested, was gone. There was no negotiation, no reconciliation. The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings. James signed papers, met with lawyers, and ensured that Melissa had no legal leverage over him beyond what was unavoidable. Each signature, each initial, was a step toward closure, toward reclaiming the life she had tried to manipulate. Every meeting reminded him that betrayal had consequences, that trust, once broken, could not be restored lightly if at all. One evening, James sat in his apartment, a cup of coffee in hand, reflecting on the strange new reality of life without her. The quiet was no longer oppressive, it was liberating. The space around him was his, and for the first time in months, he felt a fragile but undeniable peace. He realized that life wasn't about avoiding betrayal or pain. It was about facing it, confronting it, and moving forward with deliberate intention. He had been given the harshest possible lesson in trust and loyalty, but he had survived it, intact, unbroken, and wiser. Weeks turned into months. James slowly rebuilt his routine, his life, and even his optimism. He went out more, laughed again, and allowed himself moments of lightness that had been absent for too long. Every step was a reclamation of independence, a quiet victory over deceit, a reaffirmation of self-respect. The memory of Melissa and her betrayal no longer consumed him. It was a shadow at the edges of his life, acknowledged but not allowed to dominate. Then came the final confirmation. Melissa's divorce was finalized. The papers sat on his kitchen counter, neat, legal, and unambiguous. He picked them up, reviewed them, and then, without hesitation, set them aside. He didn't feel triumph. He didn't feel vengeance. He felt closure. And with closure came clarity, the kind that allows a man to rebuild himself stronger, wiser, and fully aware of what he deserves. James knew the road ahead would not be free of scars, nor would it be devoid of reminders. But he had discovered something more important than revenge or regret. He had discovered his own strength, the irreducible value of self-respect, and the uncompromising truth that some betrayals are so deep that the only way to heal is to remove the source entirely. He had chosen himself over deceit, clarity over confusion, and freedom over manipulation. And in that choice he found something he hadn't expected. The faint, persistent pulse of hope, a whisper that life, even after betrayal, could still be lived fully, openly, and honestly.